Welcome into Game Night Live Rewind. Dusty Lister, Dane Stewart, as always, presented by Heineman Associates, brought to you by the Utah National Guard. We're outfitted cleanly by Black Clover. And our mental performance brought to you by RJ Performance Group. And Dane, I did this one in the Lauren Dede video. I'll do it here too. Chance Trujillo, that kid must be all full of self-talk like Riley Jensen talks about.
Yeah, I think that he has a way to get his mind right before a big game, right? I mean, comes out in the state championship. It's 4 3-pointers in the first half. And I think he had 10 or 12 after the first quarter. Needless to say, that mental talk, I would presume, treating Chance Trujillo pretty well.
Well, I'm surprised his screen isn't on fire because all throughout the playoffs and certainly throughout the semifinals and championships, this guy absolutely torched anybody that was in his way. Chance Trujillo of the 6A state champions, the Davis Darts. First of all, Chance, walk us through what it's like to actually be in the zone, because we've covered basketball for a long time here in the state. I've never seen anybody go through a half of basketball in more than 2 games where you only miss combined 4 shots and score 40, 50 points. So what's that feeling like?
It's pretty unreal. I think it all just goes back to habits and rituals. I think it all starts in the off season, just putting up the work, the time in the gym, just getting shots on. In and out of the gym. When people aren't in the gym, we were talking about that the whole tournament, just resorting back to our habits and our rituals. And so just, working on stepping into every shot with confidence and drilling it. That was my mindset.
Chance, when you see those shots go down in the first quarter of the state championship, was it just kind of like, all right, it's ours? It felt like you guys jumped on them so early, and in particular, you hit 2 or 3 of those from the outside, and it just kind of felt like it was going to be Davis's night. Did you feel that on the floor?
Yeah, once in the first half of the Corner Canyon game, struggling a little bit, and then as soon as I felt like I started hitting shots in the second half, it built our confidence a lot more and set the tone for the rest of the Corner Canyon game and into the Westlake game.
Can you talk to us about the change in this team? You and Austin Fraser are the only seniors that were contributing on this team with a bunch of juniors. And could you talk about what it was like when you feel like maybe you guys made the turn where you thought maybe you'd be able to make a run in the 6A tournament?
Yeah, we struggled in the preseason a little bit. Still figuring out roles and still trying to bond as a team. And then when we made the switch to start Max Painter at the 5 and have Austin come off the bench, we didn't lose ever since that change. And so props to Coach Sims for that, and props to our players for buying into that switch and just being confident in that adjustment.
I know coming up through the Davis program, you think of all the great teams Davis has had in recent years and making it to semis and championships. What does it feel like to know that this was the group that was finally able to capitalize and win that state championship on a group that I think a lot of people, including me, maybe didn't have as high expectations out of this year, and yet this is the group that gets it done?
Yeah, growing up, me and those 3 seniors, we didn't lose much in that. Coming into high school, we didn't lose much, and so just adding those juniors, I think they realize, these kids, they don't come to lose games. In previous years, seeing what happened, semifinals, losing a heartbreaker in triple overtime as my sophomore year, and then losing in the state championship my junior year, it just put more motivation into us, and perfect revenge story.
Yeah, let's talk about revenge. There's guys that have called every one of your games of basketball this year. They do a show and they don't pick Davis to win, but one of them only talks about Region 4 in his videos. So what's it like when you make a run and you go through PG? Talk to us what you guys talked about after that PG win, going into the Corner Canyon game, and then that championship. You run right through Region 4, including their champion. So talk to us about what was that like for you guys?
Those guys are tough teams. All 4 or 5 of those guys in the top first 5 seeds. It was tough. We knew that it wasn't going to be given, and so buying into game plans from Coach Sims and just realizing we're going to have to freaking come and play our butts off every freaking game. We want to if we want to beat these guys. And so, I mean, like playing in the summer, I mean, they were running us over a little bit, and so I think it was kind of good for us to like learn in the summer that, okay, if we want to do this, we got to go through these guys. And so, yeah.
Chance, one of the things that I said was it felt like Davis and Westlake were probably the two most cohesive teams that existed this year in the state. And, who's 1 and 2? You guys won, so we'll call you 1. But what is it about this roster or this locker room that helped you guys to gel so much? Because it just felt like there weren't a lot of egos. It just felt like you guys, everybody knew their role and anybody could step on any particular night. What was it that made this roster and this locker room such a solid unit?
Yeah. One night, one of our, me or Rex or Colby could be hitting shots, and another night it'd be someone else. And I mean, players on the bench, I mean, they're cheering Spencer, Ben, and Austin. They're all cheering for these juniors. And then when the seniors come in, the juniors are cheering just as loud. And it's just being, our coach talks about being unconditional. And so just having that unconditional love towards each other is what set the tone and really made us come together. And
Can you talk to us what it's like to play for Coach Sims? Because, we've gotten to know Coach pretty well, and he's pretty buttoned up. He stays pretty close to the best. But as a player, can you explain to us what it's like to play for Chad Sims?
yeah, I mean, there's no days where you're coming in and, it's going to be like a lax day of practice. I mean, every day is 100%. And he'll let you know when you're not going 100%. He tells us every day, I mean, if we want to do this, we gotta grind, we gotta work hard every day, and nothing's gonna be given. You got to take everything.
Well, awesome. Chance, first of all, man, it was a pleasure to watch you on the football field. It's even better to get to watch, good grief, every single one of your basketball games. That was our pleasure. And to watch the way you took on the state tournament, man, it was awesome. You tweeted a video about your leadership stuff that I talked about on the Riley Jensen mental performance stuff. True leadership is what you did up at Slick, man. That was something to behold, man. So I just want to tell you congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thanks for, I had a bunch of people, tell me, it's so awesome for the Deseret Rewind doing these games. So I appreciate you guys streaming that, especially during this time. That's awesome.
It's our pleasure, man. Fun group to watch.
Thank you.
Absolutely. 6A state champion Chance Trujillo joining us here on Rewind. It's interesting because you see the guy on the floor, you see the guy on the call, two different things. But one thing I would call Chance Trujillo is a leader. This kid is an absolute leader of guys, and they jump behind him. And nothing more evident than what we got to see this year in this Davis basketball team.
Yeah, and the thing I love about Chance Trujillo, and we got to see a lot of Davis basketball this year, Dusty, but the thing that I love about Chance Trujillo is he'll do whatever you ask him to do. And, he might have to hit some outside shots in the contest. He might have to go and guard the post. He might have to go and play in the post. He might have to be your rebounder. He might have to bring the ball up the floor. And Chance Trujillo is going to do whatever you ask him to do to help his team be successful. And it was one of the things that I absolutely loved to see the way that team and that offense came and progressed over the course of the year, because the guys that they were having to look at early for a variety of reasons, had different roles as the season progressed. And even Chance talked about it. When they made some roster moves midway through region play, that was when things kind of settled and everybody was kind of able to settle into their role. And it meant that people maybe had different minutes and different things that they were asked to do on a nightly basis, but everyone took that, adopted that, and was able to utilize it for the betterment of the team. I've said it multiple times. I said it in the interview, and I'll say it again. I don't know of any team that played as a more collective unit than Davis and Westlake. And it was so fitting that those two were the two teams that made it to the state championship game. And seeing as how Davis won, I'll call them the most collective unit. But there's a reason why this Davis team had success this year. And I think it goes back to a lot of that culture that we asked Chance about. But he was a big part in helping to establish that culture and get the whole locker room to buy in on it.
Yeah, I'm going to jump on a soapbox real quick because we know there's a lot of specialization, and I get it, where you play one sport and you play one thing. Chance Trujillo went out and destroyed teams that had guys that only play basketball. Only be allowed to play basketball if you're going to be a starter. And this guy is an absolute warrior on the football field. He led Davis as the starting quarterback on the football field, and he brought that moxie and leadership on the basketball floor, and he absolutely brought the wood. And when you want to find out what your guys are about, it's just that cross-training of mental stuff and what you go through. Not everyone is that guy. I get it. But hey, if it's good enough for Allen Iverson, it's good enough for LeBron James, good enough for so many of the stars that we've watched on the basketball floor play football, by all means, I think it was one of those things. The state championship team this year was five guys that played together, call it 7 or 8, but also they had a star football player, a multi-sport athlete on the floor, and they brought it home. Oh, and by the way, every game of theirs was free online, and it was our absolute pleasure to be there every step along the way. But just so much fun to watch what Chance did on the football field and on the hardwood this year. And so from the gridiron to the hardwood, off my soapbox. So glad to have Chance with us. What was an absolutely spectacular run. Congratulations once again to the Davis Darts. We want to thank Chance Trujillo for joining us here on Game Night Live Rewind. For Vince Francis, Chance Trujillo, and Dane Stewart, I'm Dusty List. Thanks for joining us on watching Game Night Live Rewind.